This week's episode is brought to you in part by Adobe Systems, the people who bring you Photoshop, Illustrator, and an entire line of software for web design and video. CDW, for hardware, software, gadgets, and more, CDW has the right technology right now. DLO, makers of the Home Dock Deluxe. Watch your favorite podcast on your TV with the Home Dock Deluxe from DLO. Azo, makers of high-end monitors for creative and moving image professionals. And iStock Photo, the world's preeminent collection of member-generated royalty-free images and digital art.
Hi, welcome back to another chromatic episode of our show. Sponsored by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the wonderful people that wind up bringing us Photoshop User Magazine.
Hey, hang on a second, all right? Yeah. And also, Layers Magazine, the everything magazine for everything Adobe. That's right, you heard it here. LayersMagazine.com. Yeah.
I'm RC, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who's still on the phone.
Yeah. All right.
Corey Barker.
All right, I'll call you back. All right, well, here we are. All right, welcome to the show, everyone. Well, as you can see, the usual guys are not here. We sent them along, some doing some weird thing. So RC and I decided to take over the studio and bring you our own brand of digital entertainment.
So we wanted to be able to go and take the show, no holds barred, just straight, jump right into it. So I wanted to start, do you have a tutorial? Actually?
No, I gotta make another call, so why don't you go right ahead and get to it, and I'll be right back with you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right then. Now, I wanted to be able to talk a little bit about a tutorial that I have on creating animations for rollover states inside of Dreamweaver. If you haven't noticed already, Photoshop CS3 doesn't come with image ready, and we want to be able to have that kind of capacity to be able to create the rollover states to bring into Dreamweaver CS3. So I wanted to walk people through a step-by-step way to be able to do that. So I have an image here, and what I wound up doing is I wound up taking this image and breaking it off into separate sections. So if you'll notice, I have a menu bar. I'm just gonna go ahead and bring myself in here a little bit. And I have it all set up so that I wind up having my text in one layer, as well as accents for the right and for the left, and a series of lines that I just drew. All of this has already been cut and sliced. I'm not going to necessarily wind up working you through how to be able to build all of that stuff up, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how to be able to save this into a specific folder, and then once we wind up saving that, I want to talk about how to be able to use animation to develop the overstates for that. So saving it should be pretty straightforward. I can click on File, Save for Web and Devices, and just like Image Ready before, you still have the original optimized 2-up and 4-up. You can go ahead and change all the different settings here, whether or not you want to use GIF of 256 colors or less colors or more colors. But we're going to leave this at its default, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. And for our purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and put it over here in a folder called Menu Example, and I'm going to make sure that I save the HTML and the images for this. And I'll click on Save. So that's pretty straightforward. So in our folder, I'll have the menu example, and here I have HTML code that has all of the images cut up inside of a table. But now, how do I wind up taking that and create the overstate that we're going to use? We can do that inside of CS3 with the animation panel. So I'm going to go back over here to my Photoshop document, and notice that I still have the animation panel open. And inside of the animation panel, I can click on this drop down and I can expand the layer group and show all of the contents of all of the other components that make up this image. Now, I have a shape layer here with a specific color of blue. And notice that I have a layer style for it as a color overlay. Inside of the animation timeline, I can actually control that style. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come all the way over here to the end, and I'm going to click and drag this and decrease the animation area. I'll click on Style, and notice that there's one state of it represented by this diamond. All I have to do now is just drag this to another moment in time. Once I have that in that moment in time, I'm going to double click on my color overlay, and I'll go ahead and I'll change the color. to, let's say, a red. I'll click OK, and I'm going to go ahead and hit my spacebar. And notice now, it's changing from one color to another. And you can actually not only change color, but you can change positions of specific layers, so you can show or hide something, or you can change the opacity to kind of fade something in and fade something out. I'm going to get in my spacebar and stop this. I want to grab this now, and I want to be able to save this inside of that same folder that I did, but I'm going to give it a specific name for another folder. So I'm going to go to Save for Web and Devices. Inside of there, this is fine. The animation plays okay. I can click on this play animation to see whether or not it works. I'm going to go ahead and stop it, and I don't want it to loop forever, so I'm just going to click on that drop down and click on once. Just loop once. I'll go ahead and click Save. It's still going to save it in the menu example folder, but this time I'm going to make a new folder, and I'll call that folder Over. And I'll save just the images. That exports out, and now inside of that folder that we were using, I have an Over folder that's got some images. Now all we have to do is take that into Dreamweaver and build our website. Now I went ahead and I actually built something just to kind of show you what it would actually look like when it's all said and done. So I'll go into my website folder. I'm going to bring up Safari to show you what it looks like, and this is the final product. So it's this exact same concept. Instead of building a menu bar, I kind of built it out a little bit to show an actual site. And notice that if I wind up hovering over it, we wind up using an animated GIF in this instance to be able to create that animation. So that's the animation timeline to be able to create interesting combinations using Photoshop CS3.
That is amazing stuff.
Great.
Really cool. Really good technique with the animation palette. That's a lot of interesting stuff they've added.
Probably the only approved way to ever use a GIF where I'm...
Perhaps.
Perhaps. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break?
Let's take a break, because I have to make another call.
So we'll be right back with some more information, more highlights, and more fun on our show.
On the show.
Yeah, Bob. We're gonna need some stuff. Lots of stuff, actually. I'm gonna need 6 notebooks, 3 printers, an office phone system, a wireless network. We need blade servers, data storage. Oh, good idea. Excellent. I like where your head's at. And we're gonna need security, of course, and then all the stuff that goes with the stuff.
With a complete range of technology products that meet all of your IT needs, we're there. CDW.
Now we're in business.
I have here the Azo Color Edge 240 CE 240W. Now, I've been able to mess with this device for some time now, and I must say it's very, very cool. Unlike other LCD monitors, this one has a few more things built right in. For instance, it has an internal 10 to 14-bit color lookup table for much more consistent tones, gradients, and colors, even some more details in the shadows and dark areas of your images. So for you high-end photographers out there, this is some good stuff to have to really get the details in those images. It also has a 16 to 10 aspect ratio with a resolution of 1920 by 1200. It'll go up to that high. So if you're a video professional using widescreen formats and stuff like that, it's a very good thing. You can even watch movies on it. It's like a regular television almost. It also has a 178-degree viewing angle, meaning you can stand virtually at any angle in front of this monitor and still get a good look. As you know, in some LCD monitors, if you stand off to the side, you tend to get a faded out image and it doesn't look all that great. Well, this one doesn't suffer from that because of the very unique type of glass they use inside the monitor. Very, very neat stuff. Well, there's a lot more information regarding these monitors, and not just this model, but several others, on their website. You can go at www.azo.com, check out this link right here, and you can find out about other models they have and much more detailed information about these. So check it out, Azo, the monitor for creative professionals. Well, we're moving right along here. We're going to go right to our good friend Deke McClellan, was here on last week's show to give us a very cool tutorial with some laser eyes and stuff. He's here to finish the job. So Deke, take it away and let's see what you got.
Hey guys, what it up? Deke here, blasting a little love at you. I hear congratulations are in order. Scott, I hear Scott now owns the word book. The rest of us book writers have to send him a nickel every time we use the term, which is, fair, I think. And Corey graduated from, what is it again, 5th, 6th grade? So Mazel Tov, Feliz Navidad, and all that. Hey, I had the coolest thing happen recently. I found out that this woman here in the building that I'm working in, she has a bunch of pet iguanas. Not here in the building, at her home, I guess, and she named one of her iguanas after me. Check this out. I just got to share this with you. She left town for a week recently, and she left this lizard feeding list for some guy who was taking care of them. And so, listen to this roster. The first iguana, he's like a vegan. He eats salad only. Fill the bowl with a huge handful. And then there's the beardies. I guess that's a kind of iguana. And the babies eat small crickets, and the adults eat superworms. Not supper worms, but superworms, which means, I guess, that they wear capes and they rescue Lois Lane worms. The collards, they eat large crickets. The toads eat superworms or crickets. Okay. Then there's my guy. It says, and I quote, Deke will eat a big fat rat already fed. Is that not awesome? I mean, he must be massive. Here are all these puny little lizards eating lettuce and bugs, and my guy sitting there gnawing on a big rotting rat that he's had all week. Just like me. That's what I do. Oh man, could I go for a big, festering, moldering rat right now? Which brings me to Photoshop. As you regulars may recall, I was in the middle of showing you one of the most essential things you can do in Photoshop, which is to make lasers blast out of a mad scientist dude's eyes. Last time, we warmed up the goggles, right? Now it's time to let loose the lasers. Here, let me show you.
Here we are, we're looking at that same cool, crazy scientist image that we saw last time around from photographer Alexandra Alexis. And I've already weighed in on the fact that I don't approve of smoking. And I know this is a pretty controversial opinion. I'm going up against the powerful pro-smoking lobby. All right, but anyway. So don't smoke, and I don't think this image is going to inspire you to smoke necessarily, but just in case, if you're going to choose between carrying a wrench and smoking a cigarette, go for the wrench. Go for the wrench. Terribly useful tool, as it turns out. Now, I've gone ahead and taken his goggly eyes here and made them glowing last time around. This time around, we're going to use some terribly simple selection outlines and the radial blur filter in order to create cool laser blasts. So here's what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and select the background layer to make it active. And then I'm going to grab my new quick selection tool right here, or I could grab the magic wand tool, whatever. Somehow I've got to select this goggle eye right there, and that's it. I just want to select that one goggle eye, not the other one. And then I'm going to go up and grab my rectangular marquee tool. And I'm going to press the shift key. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and scroll over to the right a little bit so that I can see the entire right side of the image. And I'm going to press the shift key and I'm going to drag like so in order to select from the elliptical eye, the relatively elliptical eye, all the way over to the right side of the image so that we're selecting our blast zone, as it were. And I might actually spacebar drag this item over to the right just a little bit to nudge it into the correct position. And then I'll release, and so I have this very simple, not terribly accurate selection outline, but it doesn't really matter. This laser blast is so great, this laser blast effect, that it defies bad selections. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on Glowing Eyes once again. And I'm going to go up to the edit menu and I'm going to choose this guy right here, Copy Merged, which copies the merged version of the image. So it copies all the pixels that you're seeing inside of the image across all of the visible layers. And of course, you could also press Control-Shift-C or Command-Shift-C on a Mac. Then go ahead and paste. Right after you get done copy, just go ahead and paste. And you can do that by going up to the edit menu and choosing the paste command, or of course, we all know Control-V or Command-V in order to paste that selection onto a new layer. And there it is. And I'm going to go ahead and name that new layer, and I'm going to call it, let's call it Right Eye, in deference to the fact that it is indeed his right eye. And now let's change it into a laser blast. Now, the radial blur filter, which we're about to apply, it relies on the selected area. In order to center the effect, you need to have a selection going, or at least that is to say it's easier to center the effect if you have a selection going. So I'm going to press the Control key here on the PC or the Command key on the Mac and click on the thumbnail for this right eye layer. So that's a control or command click on that thumbnail in order to load that selection outline. Now I'm going to go up to the filter menu. I'm going to choose blur, and I'm going to choose radial blur. Now, the thing about the radial blur filter, even though it's pretty darn powerful, it does give you the worst preview on the face of the planet. You have no concept of where this center point belongs inside of the image, and you do not have a preview checkbox, so you can't preview the effect. Anyway, you're working blind, but I'm telling you what, this is how you want to work on this particular image. We're going to go ahead and increase the amount value all the way to 100. 100 what's, I don't know, but it's 100. And I'm going to change the blur method from spin to zoom, so we're going, you know, with our laser blast. And then I'm going to take this center point right here all the way over to the left-hand side, and I'm going to keep it centered pretty much in the middle, up and down. So we have this. It should basically start right there at this point in his eye and blast this direction with any luck. And because we have the selection outline intact, this blur center is operating inside of the selection. If we didn't, it'd be operating inside of the overall image. All right, so click OK, and wow. Wow, that's all I have to say about that. That's cool. Now let's go up to the blend mode pop-up menu and change that dude to screen. Nice. Nicely done. Okay, now let's take this selection outline and repurpose it. Let's not make a new selection outline. Let's just go ahead and repurpose this existing one. I'll drag it up a little bit, and then I'll go up to the select menu and choose transform selection, which, as you may know, allows you to transform the selection outline without changing the pixels inside the selection. And I'm going to drag this guy over to the right a little bit so that it aligns to the left edge of this right goggle, his left goggle, just to make things as confusing as humanly possible. Then I'm going to drag this up a little bit, this edge up, and maybe cheat the thing down a little bit by pressing the down arrow key, and I think that's pretty good. Now I'll press the enter key here on the PC or the return key on the Mac. Now I'm going to turn off that right eye layer for a moment. I'm going to click on glowing eyes. I'm going to go back up to the edit menu, choose copy merged once again, turn right around and go up to the edit menu and choose the paste command. That's going to paste this new layer into place below right eye, but above glowing eyes. And I'm going to change the name of this layer to left eye. And now I'm going to go ahead and load the selection outline for that left eye by control clicking on its thumbnail or command clicking on its thumbnail on the Mac. And let's rerun that filter. All we have to do is go up to the filter menu and choose radial blur. It's going to go ahead and do that blast for us. Now let's change that blend mode to screen once again. And finally, let's deselect the image, Control D or Command D on the Mac, and let's turn on the right eye image, and we have two laser blasts coming out of his eye, aiming directly at that wrench. And the result is two laser blasts emitting from this guy's super hyper cool goggles, just as I think, really, honestly, as I think this image was intended to be.
Thanks so much, Deke, for that awesome, awesome tip. Lasers and what's
Deke, it was the 8th grade, not the 6th. But that's okay. I ain't mad. I'll see you in Vegas.
Oh, did you just call Deke out, dude? All right, look. Photoshop World, September 6th through 8th, Vegas. Vegas, 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 Viva Vegas.
Vegas, people.
Or bust. So Deke's actually going to be there. A whole bunch of us are actually going to be
Viva
there.
la Photoshop!
Over 40 instructors. Several days. We got pre-con conferences happening. They're selling out like mad. I think the Nikon Safari.
There's parties, there's blackjack tables, and what?
No, no, dude. Photoshop. It's all about the Photoshop.
And
Nikon conference is sold out. We've got Dave Zeiser's conference. I think still has some seats there available.
High stake slots.
So
perhaps a little baccarat. I'm sorry.
All right, so let's take this baccarat at the news at this point with Stephanie Cross.
Stephanie, I can't believe I'm doing this, Cross.
Photoshop Storm Team Action News with news anchor Stephanie Cross.
I know. Totally. He was totally checking you out. Yeah, he was. I gotta go. All right, bye. Hi guys, Stephanie Cross again with the news for you today. First off, PhotoshopTraining.com has announced several new online training courses and DVDs. Photoshop Lightroom Basic Training with Matt Kloskowski, Illustrator Down and Dirty Tricks by Corey Barker, and coming soon, DVDs on Photoshop and Illustrator by Dave Cross, and Photoshop and Dreamweaver by RC. Check it out today. And next, Vertex has announced the official launch of Fluid Mask 3 masking software. It is available for Mac and Windows and has added pressure sensitivity for Wacom tablets.
Hey, Steph, what's going
Hey,
on?
what's up?
Hey,
Corey?
what are you up to?
I'm doing the news like I do every week.
Oh, for the show?
Yes.
Oh, do you think I could do a story?
No, get out of here! And finally, the Photoshop guys apologize for the delay in naming the winner of the B&H photo contest. But with thousands of fantastic entries, it's been really challenging finding that one winner. So hang in there, guys. I'm Stephanie Cross, and I'll see you back next week.
And we're back. Thanks, Stephanie, for that fine piece of investigative journalism.
Stephanie Cross.
A woman.
A woman in a world.
Anyway.
All right, what do you got?
I have a tutorial. It's actually a response to several emails I get. I respond to emails on the show, and I don't really respond to emails. But a while back I did a tutorial where I used the smudge tool to create some really interesting 3D tubes. Well, I had some people write in and say, it's just not working for me. Well, you probably have a setting not correct or something like that. But I'm here to demonstrate it on TV just so you can be clarified and perhaps some different ways of going about using it. So, in this document here, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to use my elliptical marquee tool here. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and just draw a small circle there. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. No, I'm just kidding. That's how to draw a selection. Very small one. Now, I'm going to select the gradient tool, and we're going to go into the gradient editor here. I'm going to choose the second one right here. And I don't really want it in color, but I'm too lazy to create another one right now, so I'm just going to use this and actually remove the color information. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to go right here. I'm going to hold the Shift key down. I'm going to draw this gradient in at a 45-degree angle, as you see here. And there we have that. Then I'm going to deselect. So I'm just going to press Command or Control D. Now, notice this is on its own layer. It's not on the background or anything like that. And I'm going to select the Smudge tool. Now, it's in there with the blur and the sharpen tool in case you don't know. So it's right here, smudge tool. And we're going to make our brush size hard edge first. Just make sure it's not a soft edge brush because the effect won't look right in the end. And we're going to make sure that we have the strength here set to 100%, all the way up. And I'm going to go into my brush options here. And we want to make sure that all these options are off. We don't want to have any other options added to this brush. We just want a straightforward hard edge brush. And we want to make sure that the spacing here in the brush tip shape, make sure the spacing is set to its very lowest setting, which in this case is 1. So with that in play, let's do this. Now, if you want to just kind of do a test here, you can go ahead and click on that object and just kind of drag a little bit, and you see that you're getting the effect you want. Well, what I want to do is actually get my pen tool here. I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit. I'm actually going to click once to start a path right in the middle of that shape. But before I do that, I need to make duplicates of this shape. So I'm just going to drag a duplicate of that layer and drag it down, holding the Shift key down as I drag to keep it constrained to an up and down movement. We'll do that, and let's duplicate that layer again and drag that down. So I have 3 objects. Now I'm going to rotate each of these ever so slightly, just so there's some difference when I apply the effect in them. And you'll see in just a second. So there I have 3 little gradient balls. So I'm going to merge all these onto their own layer. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select all 3 layers, press Command or Control E. That will merge them all on their own layer. Now let's get the pen tool. And I'm going to click right in the middle of this first circle. And it's going to click a path and just pull out a curve and just make a little curvy path like that. It goes right off the document. I'm going to hold down my Command key and just click once, just to kind of deselect that path. And we're going to do the same thing over here. Click in the middle of that ball, go right in there, let's go out here. Very cool stuff. Then, do the very same thing to the last one. Go out here, do that, And you want to make sure that you are starting the path inside the shape. So once that is done, I'm going to take the path selection tool, if I can say it right. Drag and select all those paths. In the paths panel, I'm still getting used to saying panel. It's been palettes for so long. So with these paths selected, we're going to go under the little pull-out menu here in our paths and go to stroke path. We're going to make sure that we choose our smudge tool, of course. We want to uncheck simulate pressure because we don't want it to have any pressure. Under pressure. Hit OK, and it will apply that smudge effect along those paths, giving us a very interesting effect here. So let's go back into our layers panel, go back into the background layer. Using that same gradient, I'm just going to draw a background gradient. And I'm going to bring up my hue saturation by pressing Command or Control U. And we're going to change that color. Let's go with a blue. I'm going to click Colorize. And we'll go give it kind of a blue color, really saturated. So now we have our background. Let's reselect those shapes. I'm going to bring up my free transform by pressing Command or Control T. And I'm going to hold down the Control key, or simply right-click directly on that object, bring up this menu, and we're going to go to Distort. And I'm going to drag these points kind of off the document. Kind of get this to go in a little bit. Almost like it has some perspective, like it's receding back in space there. Now I'm going to remove the color information of these by simply pressing Shift-Command-U. That'd be Shift-Control-U on a PC. I'm going to go under the filter menu and go to Artistic. Plastic wrap. This just kind of gives it a little bit more, dimension to it. You can see a little glare as we're getting in there. It can increase that highlight strength a little bit. Gives me an interesting effect. That was probably too much. Let's go back in. Drop it down. Okay. So there's that. And as I color the background, let's simply press Command or Control U and color these tubes the very same way. Increase that saturation a little bit. And there you have it. So that's simply taking a simple gradient shape and applying the smudge, probably using the smudge tool in a way you never thought you would, but it's giving you a very interesting 3D tube effect right there inside Photoshop. Isn't that pretty cool?
Wow.
So for you users out there who couldn't quite figure it out, I hope this clears things up. If not, feel free to email me.
Or rewind.
Or
and
rewind.
Go forward and rewind.
And check it out again.
Awesome.
So there you have it. That's pretty cool.
Loving it. Loving it, loving it. So what do we got going on now?
Let's go on to contest time. Now, as I heard, now obviously RC and I weren't on the show last week, so we heard, as Dave Cross told me, that he had a very hard question last week. The question was, where do you find the word urgency? I had no idea. He hit me with it. I was like, I don't even know what's in there. But apparently, it is in the file info. If you go under, into a file info. Where is file info? I don't know. But it's found inside the origin. If you go under file info to origin, it's inside there, and it's a way of, marking a page or something like that. I have no idea what urgency is for, but it must be urgent to use it.
No idea, but that's...
But anyway, if you are the lucky user who found it, congratulations, you've won all those glorious prizes I talked about last week. So this person right here, congratulations, you are a Photoshop expert. Because I didn't even know where that was.
Good Photoshop job. Expert to the level of Dave. Photoshop expert.
All right, so let's move on.
No clue.
So we get a contest this week. Well, this week's contest, I don't know if we're having as flashy prizes as last week, but we got some very cool prizes here. First off, we have Matt Kluskowski's very new, just released DVD. It's the Adobe Photoshop CS3 Camera Raw Workflow Essentials. All new stuff on the newest version of Camera Raw. So if you're a digital photographer shooting in Camera Raw, and you better be, you'll want this DVD. So there's that. So what have you got?
I have got Dave Cross's Photoshop Finishing Touches book. So love it.
It's a good book. It's a kind of book you want to have on your desk all the time. You always want to be able to refer to it.
I can't stop looking at the book. I think it's such a great book.
My copy's all messed up. It's got Post-it notes all in it. I mean, it's really good stuff.
Lastly, what else?
Lastly, you will receive a subscription to Layers Magazine, the everything magazine for everything Adobe. Anyway, well, this week's question is, I'm going to show you a graphic right now. It's actually an image inside Photoshop. It wouldn't be Corel. Anyway, this Photoshop image right here, I have applied a filter to this image. I want you to tell me what filter this is. So look at this image, look at it carefully. Pause the video if you must. We'll wait.
But not very long.
But not very long. Tell me what that filter is, you'll win these fabulous prizes and perhaps a free lunch with RC. He'll bring some RC and moon pies. It's good stuff.
God.
So there you have it.
Okay.
Cool stuff.
Let's get and move this. Let's move this along. Things to do.
Things to do.
We
Well,
have two
have
things
some
for you to do.
so we need to hurry this up. So.
Okay.
Oh, you mean for the?
Yeah. Things to do. Let's go.
All right. Yeah. You go ahead. What do you got?
All right. Michael Gatone, good friend, photographer, wedding photographer. I love going to his website and taking a look at his wedding photography. You can find it at this website, capturedintimephotography.com. Not only is it a really, really cool website to show off kind of what he can do, but it also is a great website to be able to take a look at the essentials of layout. Like, you don't have to get involved in a lot of bells and whistles and having this move and having that move. It's just fact, fact, fact. And it lets his work speak for himself. And great photographer, great guy to be able to work with. CapturedInTimePhotography.com.
Very cool, very cool. Well, I'm actually going to plug something for myself. Just this week, the week we're taping, not the week this show is going up. Anyway, if you go to PhotoshopTraining.com, you'll see I have a brand new training course. It's the Illustrator CS3 Down and Dirty Tricks. It's all the kind of coolest new tricks using Illustrator. It's not just for Illustrator CS3. If you have CS2 or perhaps even CS, most of the techniques will apply. It's very cool stuff. So check it out, PhotoshopTraining.com. Well, I think we're done.
I think we're done. I think we're actually done. Oh, no, wait a minute. We have the one for the road.
I do have one for the road.
What do you got for us?
If you have multiple layers in your layers panel, they would be in the layers panel. I don't know where else layers would be. But if you've got a bunch of layers you want to put into a group, the simple keystroke for putting them into a group is simply pressing Command G. That'd be Control G on a PC. And that will drop all those selected. You have to have the layers selected. So select the multiple layers you want, press Command or Control G, it'll pop them into a group. Just that simple.
There you have it.
So there you
have
it. Grouping your layers, that's it. Well, everyone, I can't tell you how excited we are that you joined us for another episode of our show.
So, this is Corey Barker.
That's RC.
Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you guys really soon.
Deke, I'm done it for you.
He's coming for you.
Deke, I want to apologize for calling you out there. I mean, I understand that you're one of my biggest fans, and I'm your biggest fan.